Tell me, have you ever had that feeling, as if an invisible wall has grown between you and your adult children, whom you love so much? You say something with the best intentions, with love, but in return, you get coolness, irritation, or silence. Remember how they used to reach out to you with their little hands, how they shared every secret. And now, it seems like one wrong word could push them even further away. This doesn't happen because the love is gone. No, it's just that our words, sometimes unconsciously, turn into little thorns that wound those closest to us. There are certain phrases that, like rust, slowly corrode even the strongest family bonds, especially when we're over 60 and our children have long been living their own lives. These are trap phrases we use out of habit, anxiety, or a desire to help the old-fashioned way, but they hit where it hurts most, their independence and trust. But you know what? It can all be fixed. Today, we'll break down 7 of these dangerous phrases together, and I promise, by understanding their hidden venom and replacing them with words of warmth and respect, you'll see how your relationships with your children blossom anew, becoming warmer and more trusting. It's easier than it seems and requires no effort beyond your willingness and a little attention. Stay with me until the end, and you'll discover the key to your adult children's hearts, the one you may have been searching for a long time. Stay with me until the end, because some of these lessons might surprise you. 1. The critic. Phrase, "Are you sure?" Or "Isn't that too risky, expensive, foolish?" The first trap we often fall into is unsolicited criticism, disguised as concern. You know, those questions. Are you sure you need such an expensive car? Have you thought about whether changing jobs at your age is worth it? That dress, doesn't it make you look heavier? Sounds innocent enough, right? Like simple worry. But to an adult child, it sounds different. I don't trust you. You're incapable of making the right decision. Your choice is bad. Let's recall the story of Elizabeth, 72. Her daughter, Anna, 45, decided to pursue a lifelong dream, opening a small flower shop. Elizabeth, having lived through difficult times, was genuinely worried. Every conversation started with doubts. "Anna, are you sure? The rent is so expensive. What if there are no customers? Maybe it's better to find a stable office job." Elizabeth thought she was showing motherly care, protecting her from potential difficulties. She remembered how she herself got burned by a risky investment once and wanted to spare her daughter. Her heart ached with fear for Anna. How did Anna feel? Instead of support, she got a bucket of cold water. It felt like her mother had absolutely no faith in her, considering her a naive fool. The joy of anticipating her own business melted away with each such conversation. Anna started calling her mother less often and stopped sharing her plans altogether. Why bother, she thought bitterly, just to hear again that I won't succeed. Tension grew between them. Elizabeth suffered from her daughter's coldness, not realizing she herself had created it. Why does this hurt so much? Imagine your adult child is the captain of their life's ship. They've already navigated storms, learned to handle the sails, and you, standing on the shore, shout through a megaphone, "Are you sure you're sailing in the right direction? Is your compass correct? The wind doesn't seem right." Instead of waving and wishing them a good journey, you sow doubts about their competence. An adult, especially your child, vitally needs to feel your trust, your belief in their abilities. Your criticism, even with the best intentions, clips their wings. What should you do? Replace criticism with interest and support. Instead of, "Are you sure?" Ask, "Tell me more about your idea. What excites you so much about it?" Instead of, "That's risky," say, "Sounds bold. I see how important this is to you. How can I support you?" Show that you're on their side, even if you're inwardly a little worried. Your belief is the strongest tailwind for their ship. Elizabeth, after talking with a friend, realized her mistake. The next time, she told Anna, "You know, dear, I still worry a little. That's just a mother's nature. But I see the sparkle in your eyes, and I believe in you. Tell me, what's the first bouquet you'd like to create in your shop?" Anna was so touched, she cried. The wall between them began to crumble. They became close again. So let's give our children faith, not doubt. It's the most valuable gift that strengthens both them and your relationship. 2. The manipulator. Phrase, "After all I've done for you," or "I'm all alone here." Ah, the heavy artillery, guilt. How often, without noticing, do we use phrases like, I dedicated my whole life to you, and you? I'm so lonely. Couldn't you call just once? Well, of course, you have your own life. You don't have time for your mother, your father. We say this out of hurt, lack of attention, or fear of becoming unnecessary. But these words are like heavy shackles we place on our children. Listen to the story of Arthur, 68. He's a wonderful grandfather, but missed his son Michael terribly, who lived in another city and couldn't visit as often as Arthur wished due to work and his own family. Every phone call ended with Arthur's sigh. Well, there you go, short again. And here I sit alone, counting the days until you visit. Remember how we used to go fishing every weekend? Ah. Arthur meant no harm. He just loved his son very much and missed him. He remembered the times when Michael was little and completely dependent on him, and it was hard to accept that his son now had his own very busy life. How did Michael feel? Guilt. Huge, suffocating guilt. Every call from his father became torture. He loved his father, but after such conversations, he felt like a terrible, ungrateful son. It seemed like he was torn between his own family, work, and his duty to his father. The joy of connection was replaced by a heavy heart. He started calling less frequently because he subconsciously avoided that unpleasant feeling. Why is this destructive? Guilt is poison. It doesn't inspire love or a desire to be closer. On the contrary, it pushes people away. Nobody wants to interact with someone who constantly makes them feel bad, guilty, obligated. It's like carrying a heavy backpack full of stones. Sooner or later, you'll want to throw it off. By playing on guilt, we might achieve a short-term result. The child visits or calls out of duty. But it won't be a sincere desire, rather an obligation. And relationships built on obligation are fragile and joyless. What to do instead? Talk about your feelings directly, but without accusations. Instead of, I'm all alone here, say, I miss you. It would mean a lot to me if we could talk longer this week. When would be a good time for you? Instead of, after all I've done for you, simply ask for help or attention if you need it. I'm feeling a bit lonely today. Could you maybe call this evening just to chat? Share your interests, your life, so your child sees you have your own world, not just waiting for their attention. Arthur, after a heart-to-heart with his sister, decided to change his approach. He stopped complaining. Instead, he started telling Michael about his new hobbies. He signed up for wood carving classes, started attending history club meetings. He'd say, Son, I'm so glad when you call. Tell me, how are things with you? Oh, yesterday I carved a funny little figure. I'll show you when you visit. Michael felt relieved. The guilt faded, replaced by a genuine desire to connect with his father and learn about his life. Their calls became longer and warmer. Arthur realized his happiness shouldn't depend solely on his son, which made him happier himself, and their relationship healthier. Remember, sincerity and openness bring people closer much more effectively than guilt manipulation. Free your children from this burden, and they will naturally gravitate towards you. C. Self-correction. Add the call to action from the original text. If you're still watching this video and finding the information useful, write the number 2 in the comments or something nice, if what I'm saying is helpful, so I know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss any new videos. All right, let's move on. 3. The comparison phrase, but friend's relative's name, son, daughter. Oh, those comparisons. But Carol, my friend's daughter, calls her mom every day. Look at John, the neighbor's son. He's already built a house, and your sister had 2 kids by your age. It seems like we're just sharing news or trying to nudge or motivate them a little, but in reality, it's a blow below the belt. Imagine Margaret, 70. She was very proud of her daughter Susan, but always felt Susan could achieve more, especially when she heard about the successes of her friends' children. So, in conversations with her daughter, she'd casually insert, "Did you know Mary's son, David, got a promotion? He's a big boss now," implying that Susan's job, as a teacher, wasn't as prestigious. Or, "Saw Patricia yesterday. Her daughter has lost so much weight. She looks like a model," hinting at Susan's few extra pounds. Margaret thought these were innocent remarks, just stating facts. She didn't even realize how much pain she was causing her daughter. How did Susan feel? like she was a constant disappointment to her mother. No matter what she did, no matter how hard she tried, she would always be worse than someone else. Each comparison chipped away at her self-esteem, making her feel inadequate, a failure in the eyes of the person closest to her. She began avoiding conversations about work or her personal life to prevent giving her mother ammunition for another comparison. Resentment grew in her heart, along with the feeling that her mother simply didn't love her for who she was. Why are comparisons so destructive? Because they devalue your child's uniqueness. Every person is a separate universe with their own path, talents, difficulties, and achievements. By comparing them to others, you're essentially saying, "You're not who I want you to be. Be like someone else." It's a direct message of non-acceptance. Besides, we never know the full story of those we compare them to. Maybe the successful David has family problems, and Patricia's slimmed-down daughter is unhappy. Comparisons are not only hurtful, but often superficial and unfair. So, what should you do? Focus on your child, their life, their feelings, their successes, whatever they may seem in your eyes. Instead of talking about others, ask, "How was your day at work? What was interesting? You look tired. Is everything okay?" I'm so proud of how you handle everything. Highlight their strengths, celebrate their small victories, show that you value them, just as they are. Margaret needed a serious talk with her husband to realize her mistake. He gently told her, "Dear, our Susan is wonderful. She's an excellent teacher. The kids love her." Why do you keep looking at others? Margaret reflected. The next time Susan talked about a difficult situation in her class, Margaret said, "You're amazing for finding ways to connect with each child. That's such important and challenging work. I'm very proud of you." Susan was astonished. For the first time in a long while, she felt genuine maternal acceptance. Their relationship became warmer, more trusting. Let's remember, our children are not exhibits in an achievement showcase. They are loved ones, and the best thing we can give them is unconditional acceptance and admiration for their unique path. 4. The invalidation phrase, "Oh, come on," or "Don't make things up." "Oh, don't worry about it." "You're overreacting." "What nonsense." "Don't invent problems." Sound familiar? We often say these things when we think our child is upset over trivial matters, or when their strong emotions, sadness, anger, fear, make us uncomfortable. We want to calm them down, distract them, return things to normal. But in reality, we invalidate their feelings. Recall George, 75. His son, Robert, was going through a tough time at work, conflict with his boss, threat of dismissal. He shared his worries with his father. George, an old-school type used to keeping a stiff upper lip and not showing weakness, replied, "Robert, stop acting like a child. Pull yourself together. Bosses always find fault. It'll blow over. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill." George genuinely believed he was encouraging his son, urging him to be strong. He himself had overcome many hardships and thought complaining was a sign of weakness. How did Robert feel? That his problems weren't important, that his father didn't understand and didn't want to understand his state. He felt alone in his anxiety. He expected support, empathy, but got brushed off. Don't make things up. He didn't bring up the topic with his father again. Why should he? If his feelings were considered nonsense. Why is invalidation so hurtful? Feelings are our inner reality. When a loved one says you're exaggerating or it's nothing, they are essentially denying your reality, your experiences. It's like telling someone with a broken leg, "It doesn't hurt, you're pretending." It makes you feel misunderstood, alone, and sometimes even crazy. Maybe I really am reacting inappropriately. It's especially painful coming from parents, whose acceptance is always important to us at any age. What to do instead? Acknowledge your child's feelings, even if you don't fully understand them or think they're excessive. Say, "I see that you're upset, you're anxious, distressed. I understand this is difficult for you right now. That must be really unpleasant." Just let them know you hear them and accept their emotions. You don't necessarily need to give advice or solve the problem immediately. Sometimes the most important thing is just to be there and let the person talk, knowing their feelings are respected. It's like giving a warm blanket on a cold day. It doesn't solve all the problems, but it warms and provides a sense of security. George noticed Robert had become withdrawn. He shared this with a wise neighbor. She advised him to simply listen to his son next time. When Robert had another problem and hesitantly started talking, George said, Son, I hear how hard this is for you. Tell me everything. I'll just listen. Robert was surprised. He talked for a long time, and George listened, nodded, sometimes just saying, "Yes, I understand." After the conversation, Robert said, "Dad, thanks. I feel better just having talked it out." George understood that being strong doesn't mean denying feelings, but being there when a loved one is struggling. Let's learn to accept our children's feelings without judgment or invalidation. It's the key to deep emotional connection and trust. Darti. Self-correction, add the call to action. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss new videos. Your support helps us continue creating useful and inspiring content for you. And now, let's keep going. 5. The directive phrase, you must, you have to, you must come for Christmas. You have to call Aunt Mary, she'll be offended. You must spend more time with us. These words sound like orders, like demands. We might feel we have the right to demand things. After all, we're parents. These are family traditions, it's the right thing to do. But for an adult, the word must sounds like an encroachment on their freedom of choice. Here's the story of Helen, 69. She cherished family gatherings and considered Sunday dinners an unbreakable tradition. Her daughter, Olivia, 42, lived nearby with her family, husband and 2 teenage children. Helen expected them to come every Sunday. If Olivia called saying they had other plans, a trip with the kids, meeting friends, Helen would respond, "Hurt, but you must be here. It's family day. Traditions shouldn't be broken." She genuinely believed she was fighting to preserve the family, its values. She remembered how she always visited her own parents and couldn't understand why her daughter couldn't do the same. How did Olivia feel? Pressured and irritated. She loved her mom, but she wanted the right to her own life, her own plans, time with her immediate family. You must provoked internal resistance. Sundays turned from a joyful event into an obligation she wanted to avoid. She felt like a little girl being told what to do. This led to arguments and tension. Why do must and have to push people away? Adults define their own musts and have-tos. They have their own obligations to their family, work, themselves. When a parent uses these words, they position themselves as superior, like a boss or controller. This causes natural resistance, a desire to defend one's boundaries. Relationships are built not on orders, but on mutual respect and agreements. Imagine trying to forcibly drag someone into a room. They'll resist. But if you open the door and invite them in, they'll likely enter willingly. What's a better approach? Replace demands with requests and expressions of your desires. Instead of, "You must come," say, "I would love to see you on Sunday. Will you be able to make it? I'd be so happy." Instead of, "You have to call," "Aunt Mary would be so happy to hear from you. She misses you. Maybe you could find a minute. Express your wishes, but leave your child the right to choose. Talk about your feelings. I'll be a little sad if you're not here because I love our gatherings, but I understand you might have your own plans." Helen, after another conflict with Olivia, realized her insistence was only pushing her daughter away. She decided to try a different approach. The following Saturday, she called and said, "Olivia, dear, I'm baking your favorite apple pie tomorrow. If you have the time and feel like stopping by for an hour or so, I'd be delighted to see you. If not, no worries. I understand you have your own lives." Olivia was pleasantly surprised by the lack of pressure. And guess what? They came. Not out of obligation, but because they wanted to see their mom and grandmother, to feel the warmth of her home without any musts. Respecting the boundaries and freedom of choice of your adult child is the foundation of healthy and warm relationships. Replace orders with invitations, and you'll see how often your children will gladly accept them. 6. The past reminder. Phrase, "I told you so," or "You've always been like that." See? You're at it again. I told you this would happen. You've always been so stubborn, sharp, careless, disorganized. These phrases often slip out when our child makes a mistake or faces a setback. We might think we're just stating a fact, maybe even trying to help them learn a lesson. But in reality, we're hitting a sore spot and dragging old grievances into the present. Listen to the story of Richard, 73. His son, Thomas, 48, decided to invest money in a new project that seemed risky to Richard. Richard advised against it. Unfortunately, the project didn't meet expectations, and Thomas lost part of his savings. He was very upset and down. When he told his father, Richard's first reaction was, "I told you so. I warned you, but you never listen, always asking for trouble." Richard didn't mean to crush his son. He just blurted out his, "I was right," and perhaps wanted to caution against future mistakes. He remembered all of Thomas's past failed decisions and felt it was his duty to remind him. How did Thomas feel? Humiliated, ashamed, angry. He already felt bad, and instead of support, his father rubbed salt in the wound. "I told you so" didn't help. It only intensified his feeling of worthlessness. The words, "You've always been like that," sounded like a verdict. You don't change. You're hopeless. After that conversation, Thomas shut down and couldn't forgive his father for those words for a long time. He felt his father saw him not as a grown man, but as the same boy who constantly messed up. Why is dredging up the past and saying "I told you so harmful? Firstly, it's gloating, even if unconscious. The person feels bad, and you're essentially dancing on their mistakes. This kills trust. No one wants to share their problems if they know they'll get blame and reminders of their wrongdoings in return. Secondly, the phrase "you've always been like that" hangs a label on them. It denies the possibility of change, growth, learning from mistakes. It locks them in a cage of the past. People change, and our children are no exception. Holding on to their past mistakes means not seeing who they are now. What to do instead? When your child is experiencing failure, they need support, not criticism or reminders of past errors. Forget "I told you so." Instead say, "I'm so sorry it turned out this way. I see how upset you are. How can I help?" This is an unpleasant experience, but you're strong. You'll get through it. Focus on the present moment, on your child's feelings here and now. If you want to help them learn a lesson, do it later, when emotions have settled, and not as a reproach, but as a discussion. What do you think about the situation now? What experience did you gain? Richard realized his mistake when he saw how distant his son had become. He found the strength to apologize. He said, "Tom, forgive me for those words. I behaved wrongly. I'm sorry you're having trouble, and I want to support you." It wasn't easy for Thomas, but he appreciated his father's sincerity. Gradually, their relationship began to mend. Richard learned to bite his tongue when he wanted to say, "I told you so," and offer empathy instead. Let's leave the past in the past. Our children need our support in the present, not blame for yesterday's mistakes. Empathy and faith in their ability to learn and change. That's what builds strong bridges between generations. Self-correction, add the call to action. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the videos. Your support helps us continue creating great content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. 7. The unsolicited advice phrase. "Why don't you try?" Or, "If I were you, I would." And the last, 7th trap phrase, a very common one, is unsolicited advice. "You need to sleep more." "Why don't you try this cough remedy? It helps me." "If I were you, I would have gotten divorced, quit my job, moved long ago." We give advice with the best intentions, wanting to help, share our experience. We think we know best. But often, our advice is perceived as interference and disrespect for someone else's choices. Let's remember Barbara, 71. Her daughter, Jane, 46, complained about fatigue and stress at work. Barbara immediately showered her with advice. "You need to go to bed no later than 10, and drink herbal teas, and sign up for yoga, and talk to your boss about reducing your workload. Maybe you should just find another job." Barbara sincerely wanted to help her daughter cope with her difficulties. She herself had always been very proactive and believed any problem could be solved with the right action. How did Jane feel? Irritated and exhausted by the stream of advice. She just wanted to share her feelings, be heard, receive a little empathy. Instead, she got an instruction manual, implying she was incapable of managing her own life. It felt like her mother considered her incompetent. Sometimes the advice was completely irrelevant or didn't consider her actual situation. Eventually, Jane stopped complaining to her mother about problems to avoid this flood of unsolicited recommendations. Why is unsolicited advice so annoying? Firstly, it often invalidates feelings, see Block 4. Someone feels bad, wants empathy, and gets offered a solution, as if their feelings are just a problem to be quickly solved. Secondly, it violates boundaries. Adults are capable of finding solutions to their own problems. When we give advice without being asked, we're implicitly saying, I know better than you how you should live. This can be perceived as control or arrogance. Thirdly, our advice is based on our experience, which might be completely inapplicable to our child's situation. The world changes, and what worked for us may not work for them. So, what should you do? Before giving advice, ask if it's wanted. Simply say, I hear this is tough for you. Would you like me to share my thoughts on this, or do you just need to vent? Or, can I offer some advice, or are you just sharing? Give your child the choice. If they say yes, share your opinion gently, not as the ultimate truth. It seems like it might help to, I had a similar experience, and this is what I did. If they say no, just listen and empathize. Sometimes, the best thing we can do is be a shoulder to cry on, not a handbook of ready-made solutions. Barbara noticed Jane had become secretive. She felt hurt, but then talked to a friend who gently hinted that Barbara gave too much advice. Barbara decided to try differently. The next time Jane complained about fatigue, Barbara said, Oh dear, I'm so sorry to hear that. That must be exhausting. Do you want to talk about it? Or maybe I could come over and help with dinner so you can rest a bit? Jane was moved to tears. That's exactly what she needed. Not advice, but understanding and real, non-intrusive support. Their communication became much warmer. Remember, wisdom isn't just knowing the answers, but also understanding when it's best to keep them to yourself. Offer ears to listen and a shoulder to lean on, but advice only upon request. So, we've broken down these 7 trap phrases that, like weeds, can quietly sprout in the garden of your family relationships and choke the flowers of love and trust. I understand that some of these phrases might have been part of your habitual speech for years, and you said them solely with good intentions. But your life experience, your wisdom, lies precisely in the ability to learn, change, and become even closer to those you love most in the world. You've raised wonderful children, and now, as adults, they still need your support, but a slightly different kind, one based on respect for their choices, their path, their feelings. Believe me, it's never too late to start speaking differently. By replacing criticism with faith, guilt with sincerity, comparisons with admiration for uniqueness, invalidation with empathy, demands with requests, past reproaches with present support, and unsolicited advice with attentive listening, you will open a new chapter in your relationships with your children, a chapter full of warmth, mutual understanding, and deep, sincere closeness. You absolutely deserve happy and harmonious relationships with your adult children at any age. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to change. Your love is an immense power, and if channeled into respect and acceptance, it can work true miracles. Let your words become bridges that connect hearts, not walls that divide. You can do this.